Okay.
Okay, my name is Cheryl Penrose and I'm with my husband David, and we'd like, sorry about that, just David's just taken me off the screen. And we'd like to share a health breakthrough that can change your life. Our Redox products have totally changed how we do first aid in our family. David's had remarkable results using the supplement with his kidney issues, and I no longer have any change of life symptoms at all. Hence my desire to share this with as many women as possible. We're passionate about sharing this incredible technology so that others may have the opportunity to get their best health as well as financial freedom. And tonight we'll be chatting with our friend and practitioner Janice Dance on hormonal issues in the cycle of life, focusing on women this evening. We will be journeying from preconception to perimenopause and discussing why things work or don't work, and the benefits of redox signalling molecules with all of these conditions. Jan has over 2 decades experience in all modalities of reflexology and is exceptionally passionate about the topic. She's trained in many aspects of natural therapies and served as a National Director of the Reflexology Association of Australia. She is an honorary maternity reflexologist with the London School of Reflexology, dedicated to all areas of pregnancy care from preconception to baby. Jan works with men and women's health in all age groups from the newborn to the elderly. So we're very fortunate tonight to have Jan with us. However, before we get started and talk to Jan, I invite you to think about a few questions to get in touch with what you are looking for in your life. Do you have a health challenge, or do you know somebody with a health challenge that needs help? Would you like to reduce the visible signs of aging and not only look younger but feel younger? Do you want more energy to do what you love, or just to feel fabulous at the end of the day? Are you an athlete looking for improved performance? Are you looking for more time and or money freedom and a better lifestyle? To really live well, we all need a body that can do whatever we ask it to do. And financial well-being that gives us the choices in our lives are important to us, whatever that is for you. When you are young, you can get away with lots of mismanagement of your health and still do pretty well. Or you might be someone who invested in exercise, nutritional supplements, a clean diet, enough rest and recovery time, or you might be somewhere in the between. Frustratingly, no matter what you do, as you age, your cells respond less effectively to all of these strategies. Your cells naturally begin to break down, producing less and less energy, with repair and cell turnover becoming slower each decade. And for those of us over 40, we have noticed that. So if you could turn up the dial on your cell efficiency, your exercise, nutrition, supplementation, and everything else that you do would be more effective. You could be healthier longer with less effort. So does this have your attention? Well, several years ago, scientists made a groundbreaking discovery. They identified molecules natively produced inside the body that help your cells repair and regenerate. And once discovered, years of research and development went into figuring out how to stabilize these molecules outside of the body so that they could be used as a replenishing supplement. The result is a molecular technology that helps your cells work better. And when your cells work better, everything works better. Your exercise and diet efforts become more productive, nutritional supplementation works better, you feel better, you look better, you sleep better, you have more energy. Now, let's hear from our special guest on their redox experiences. Welcome, Jan Dance. And Jan, I thought we would start with puberty in girls and the reasons why redox molecules can be so helpful.
Okay, I think before we begin, Cheryl, it's important that we recognise that redox signalling, they assist our body to balance out itself, and it's, you know, it improves our cells to achieve what it knows best to do. So, you know, it's not about, you know, saying that we can diagnose or treat anything. By giving us the redox molecules, it enables our bodies to heal. With regards to, I've made a few notes, so I'm going to sort of refer to a few notes to make sure that I'm compliant. And I know you mentioned pubescent girls, but I'm going to get to that. But I think it's important that you know, hormones affect everything from the newborn, even up to the elderly. And I've got a 90-year-old, you know, so if I can also add a couple of other areas there with youngsters, you know, I had a 6-year-old who was, you know, had dysfunction with solicitites, and just on a low level of 30 mils of the redox beverage, you know, became less sensitive, and you know, he was less hyperactive, and you know, he settled. You know, there was a 10-year-old boy who was not learning at school. He couldn't read or write, and just on 30 mils of the redox beverage, he started to be able to put words together and be able to read better. And recently he's changed schools, and the parents didn't think he'd be able to do that. And he's transitioned into a new school and a new learning environment, and that's been profound. Now we come into the, you know, pubescent girl, and her skin was very oily. You know, would have breakouts. Her moods, you know, towards the end of the month was just really erratic. The parents wouldn't look forward to the end of the month. That's all shifted and changed. Her skin complexion has altered. The oiliness is less there. And her moods, you know, like she's more helpful around the house. You know, I'm going to throw into pubescent boy. Well, not pubescent. He's sort of a teenager, late teenager, athletic guy that lost his way, became in Tasmania, they can get their licenses a lot younger. And he became involved with vehicles and wine and women and other activities, and lost his way in his sports career. Very talented young man in the athletics area. And his mother was incredibly worried about him. And, you know, he went off the rails, and she encouraged him to get back onto the redox beverage and the gel. You know, he was saying, "Oh, stop going on about it, Mum," but he did, and now he's taking high levels of that, and he's going to be competing in a very big event that's going to be televised Australia-wide, and he's back on track. You know, and that was over a short period of time. You know, I've got lots of other stories here. Do you want me to move on with some of the other age groups, or?
No, Jan, so tell me why, you know, when we first start out and we get a period when we're younger, 12, 13, why do some of us just sail through that and others get a lot of discomfort, and how can that be helped using redox?
Look, I think when you look at the majority of conditions, you know, there's an inflammatory response that's happening in the background, and everybody's body is different, you know, like different lifestyles, different environments that they're living in with regards to stressors. You don't know what's happening with their parents. You don't know what's happening at school. All of these different hormones are fluctuating. Different, you know, children cope differently. You know, what are they eating? What are they drinking? You know, fizzy drinks can upset them. Yeah, look, everybody's different, and I think, you know, each person has to be looked at individually. I don't think one mold fits all. But what I've seen and what I've seen in other amazing stories is that the redox molecules tends to reduce those inflammatory conditions that are happening at a cell level. And I think we all need to just recognise that we're just cells. You know, we're 100 odd trillion cells, and our body systems make up, you know, 10 trillion cells. And when we look at the enormity of that, there's 10 trillion odd ants on planet Earth. You know, and we've got 100 trillion cells inside those 10 trillion, and we're just a cell. And so what's happening at a cell level? You know, are the cells functioning like sultanas or raisins, or are they functioning like good plump grapes? You know, and what's the efficiency that's happening in the liquid inside those cells? And as I said, everybody's body is different. And, you know, are they not drinking enough water? Are they not getting proper salts? Are they not getting enough sleep? Are they going to bed with technology? You know, if their hormones in their heads are constantly being activated with lots of light. They're not getting enough dark sleep. You know, you've got to look at all sorts of different things. But I have found that when I've added redox into the mixture of protocols, we're getting better results with an overall bringing it back to balance. You know, the extra redox molecules inside those cells are actively stimulating. You know, a lot of people may or may not know about glutathione, but it's your big major antioxidant. And if that's not being stimulating, you know, all the wonderful foods that you may be having, you may not be getting the benefit from it. So I'm just really loving that ASEA is bringing out, you know, a source of nutrients that's going to enhance this. I think we're going to get even better results. I don't know. Has that answered your question?
Yeah, so how does redox help with glutathione?
Okay, so, all right. I'll keep this simple. Let's imagine you've got a cell and it's a grape, and inside the grape you've got a pip. The pip is your mitochondria, and let's replace that word with an ever-ready battery. And your ever-ready battery stimulates energy inside the cells. If anyone's ever walked past furniture and they've got a little bit of an electric shock, you know, everyone's probably experienced that. We are an electrical individual. And so the electricity that's generated inside a cell stimulates through the fluid, which is salt and water. Right? When we cry, it's salty. When we sweat, it's salty. And that salt water in nanoseconds makes a redox molecule. In nanoseconds, that stimulates the production of glutathione, which is your big master antioxidant. So let's just leave that picture there for a minute. You've got a campfire, you're cold, you put a log of wood on it. What's in the atmosphere that makes that burn, Cheryl?
Oxygen.
Yeah. And what's the residue left after that burning, David?
Ash.
Ash. And what else? Carbon and coal. So, you know, if that was inside your house and you wanted to sweep that up, what would you use? A broom and shovel. So let's put that analogy inside the cell, and a cell can't function without fuel. It can't burn that fuel without oxygen. Most people are running around stressed. They're not even breathing deep. So they're not even getting the right oxygen to the fuel to burn it properly. And when they do, they need to breathe out. And what do we breathe out? Carbon dioxide. We're breathing out the carbon. So that's the beautiful Krebs cycle. What's the broom and shovel? That's glutathione. And how do we get glutathione? Quality sleep, gentle exercise. You know, raw milk, you know, beautiful raw milk straight from a cow. Who's getting raw milk these days? So we need to increase our glutathione production through sleep, through good quality exercise, through darkening our bedrooms, getting rid of the technology. You know, like you're talking about pubescence. What's going on in the bedroom? You know, are they still texting until midnight and then getting up and having to go to school and being pressured with their exams? You know, that's going to throw all of their major hormonal glands in their brain out. So everybody's different, and when you can increase the redox potential of a cell, that increases your glutathione, and glutathione's your broom and shovel that sweeps up the ash, which is your inflammation that gathers inside the cell. The ash gathers because it's not being eliminated through our breathing. I don't know if that's a simplified explanation, but I'm hoping that people get it at a cell level.
Oh, that was fantastic. Thank you. I really appreciated that. That really made it clear for me. So let's move on. So we're knowing now that redox can actually help the hormones in prepubescence and and even it out a little bit. What happens when we get to the next stage and we're looking at having a baby, and what happens with our preconception? You know how it seems to me to be getting harder for women to get pregnant now. And how do we use redox in this?
Okay. I'll tell you a little story first. 39-year-old woman. I've made a couple of notes here. Where's her notes? Yeah, she was lost, really fragile in her personality, and every time she saw someone with a pram with a baby in it, that would stress her out even more. Again, it comes back to the cell, and the more stress, what does that result? When you're stressed, you're breathing less, aren't you? It's like you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, so your breathing is shallow. It's not deep breathing. And so that accumulates again, and it fluctuates in our hormones. And so what happened with her was she came in 8 years of not being able to fall pregnant, and she was deeply upset. Her sister had just had a baby. She couldn't even go and visit her sister. It was just so stressful for her. And so what's happening in the bedroom is that it becomes an arena for making a baby, not for intimacy. And so how do we create a child? With wonderful hormones called oxytocin. Well, if oxytocin isn't happening in the bedroom, you're not going to fall pregnant. So I explained to her, you know, we're just a mammal. We're just a bunny rabbit in the paddock.
Please speak up, Janice. We can barely hear you.
Okay, thank you. How's that, Justin?
It's better, but still not great.
Okay, so...
Yeah, just direct your voice into the laptop, please.
Okay. So what happened was I explained to her, you're no different to a bunny rabbit. And if the environment gets wiped out by a bushfire, then the female reproductive system will shut down. In dogs, you can have the top breeders giving them the top food. If there's a drought, their reproductive system will shut down. We're no different as mammals. Our reproductive system shuts down if we're stressed. So it's about, you know, just educating people on mindfulness, breathing in slower, walking a dog gentle, swimming in the ocean, not a whole pile of exercise at the gym. That, again, is being chased by the saber-toothed tiger. So what happened with her was we introduced the redox molecules into the equation. I got her to put that all over her abdomen area, and he also applied it to his reproductive areas. I got him in and I showed him how to gently massage her feet. I gave them some gentle meditative music and educated them on that. I got her to change her mindset so that every time she looked at someone with a pram and a pusher, that she envisaged that was going to be her into her future, never going to happen. And after 3 months of applying the gel and mindfulness and breathing differently and increasing pure water and good salts and good foods, 3 months later, she was pregnant. And then she used the redox molecules in her labour. She had a lot of discomfort in her labour, and with the application of the redox gel and the liquid, that discomfort decreased enormously. She had redness in her breast area. And how am I going with compliance? Are we okay?
That's great, thanks.
And she found that the spraying of the redox beverage on her breast areas reduced the redness. She had some cracking around her nipples, and she again sprayed the liquid on that. And the midwives were amazed that healed up within about a day and a half, and she was able to breastfeed and go on. She's used the gel underneath the baby's nappies, and also, you know, coming back to hormones, when the mother's hormones start to change, well, that gets transferred via the breast milk, and the baby's hormones change. And so they can come out in a rash all over their body. And she applied the gel to the baby, and that decreased. So, you know, like, these hormones are right across the board in all areas of life. She was able to sleep better, and she had what are they? Stretch marks. They disappeared. She's wrapped. And, you know, this was a woman who was diagnosed as infertile. So, you know, the redox molecules, to me, is absolutely amazing. But you've got to look at other parameters. You've got to look at what else is happening in an individual's life. You know, what are their stress levels, and how do you reduce that? You know, what's going on in the background? And has that answered that for you?
That was great. Thanks. That was really great because you gave me the pregnancy bit too. I was going to ask you about pregnancy next. So she went through that pregnancy quite well. She using the redox molecules throughout that pregnancy to keep herself healthy. What was she doing?
Yes. She felt more energy throughout the pregnancy. She was concerned initially because there was a label on there that said, advise your practitioner with regards to taking this in pregnancy. And, you'll find that most good products will have that warning on it. It's just a precaution. There's lots of, what was your question? I've gone off track, have I?
No, that's good. No, that's great. You've answered that. So you've also, at that same time, you also answered post pregnancy. So she's obviously using it to keep hormones level. Do you think that's what's happening when you're using redox? Does it sort of normalize your hormones, or it helps your body to normalize the hormones?
Well, this was her first pregnancy, so I'm not sure that she could really say whether or not that's what happened. She just felt that in comparison to some of her friends, that had babies, she was functioning a lot better. She had more energy. She had more vitality. Are you right there, David? Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's great. Jan, there was one thing you mentioned before when we were talking about the actual uterus health and the placenta health. Could you make some comments on that, what you've seen?
Well, there's a very good post on. We've got a private Facebook page, and that sort of explains there's women in the industry that encapsulate. They get the placenta and they dry it and they put it into capsule formulation and they give it back to the mothers. Now, that might seem a bit strange, but in the natural world, dogs, cats, everyone, these mammals eat the placentas. And what you find in the placenta is all your zinc and magnesium, all your essential elements are in that. And with respect, babies are parasites. They'll take to the mother to their own detriment, and they'll get that from the placenta. It's an amazing organ. And especially in England, the midwives freeze dry it and they give it back to the mums, and the mums have that over a period of the first 3 months. And what they're finding is that I'm just trying to, that condition where people are really depressed, that doesn't occur when they're getting those nutrients back, because they're getting their zinc and their magnesiums and all of the essentials back through the placenta. And if you're not into eating your placenta, I tend to recommend that my women have those essentials, and I don't have women with that condition that occurs after their babies. What I can roll on to here, if it's okay, a 23-year-old mum of 2 boys. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah. She was after the second birth, and she fell pregnant with the second one, inverted commas, accidentally. And so it was a bit of a surprise to her body. So her body didn't really recover with regards to getting back in its strength. And what happened was, after the second birth, she had severe thoughts of wanting to end her life. She was unable to function. Her husband went to work. He came home. He did all the house duties. She would basically just lie in bed. She was unable to get up. Her parents brought her a supply of the redox beverage and the redox gel, and she was on that for 2 months. And after 2 months, she started to improve, where she actually was able to return back to work part-time. She's commenced studies. She's able to share activities in the home. She feels more vital. She's loving more towards her husband. She wouldn't even go near him before. And so, they're more on track with their relationship. It's improved their relationship greatly. In general, she's loving life, and she's especially more connected to her boys. But she was just a walking zombie. She was lifeless. her parents were really, concerned for her, and she had tendencies of wanting to end her life. Now, look, what was the component difference in there? Definitely the redox beverage and the redox gel made a significant difference to all of that. And even her little babies. I know that the grandparents give the children the redox beverage, and they're more settled, and yeah. So we flow on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, we're running out of time, so I really want to quickly just touch on when we get to the stage of life that I've reached, and some of the things that we can experience and how we overcome them, and how redox is a part of that as well. What changes can we expect?
Oh, huge amounts of stories on this one. Which one will I?
Use yours.
You want me to tell you another story?
Yes, please. Stories are great.
Oh, okay. All right. Bear with me. Oh, crikey. I'll choose this one because it sort of, there's a couple there. A 45-year-old, she had her thyroid removed at a younger age. By the time she was 45, she was diagnosed that she was going to be fully menopausal at the age of 47. Her periods were occasional. She was extremely fatigued, exhausted, and very dysfunctional. And after 3 months on the gel, she found that she was able to absorb her medication that her glands in her neck could no longer produce. And within 3 months that she found that she got back to a 28-day cycle. Now, that was amazing. What happened also was that she noticed that she had 2 large marble-sized lumps in her left and right breast. And she is not into sugar or into fruit, so she assumed that it wasn't sugar-related, and she wondered what had caused the actual lumps. She also lives in a remote area, and for her, surgery didn't really inspire her. So her husband bought her 3 tubes of the redox serum, and she applied 4 to 5 times the serum to her breasts on a daily basis, and also she applied the gel 6 times a day, and after 8 weeks the lumps completely disappeared. So, that was a, was it a hormonal lump? I guess we won't know, because it wasn't diagnosed. She just noticed them, and she knew that wasn't normal. She's also a practitioner, so she knew what she was looking for. And she now sleeps better. Her vitality is stronger. And because she's getting a 28-day cycle that's regular, she's now ovulating properly. And her husband is subjected to more bedroom attacks on a monthly basis. So happy wife, happy life. And that sort of, I've got lots of, can I throw in some men's stories here? Because we've got some men in the audience.
Yes, you can throw in a couple of men's stories.
Yeah, and I'll be as quick as I can, because I know we're sort of up to time, because we're going to open up to question time. For the guys, I've got a 57-year-old guy. He was white colouring in his hair. He's now gone salt pepper, so the pepper colouring, the dark colouring's coming back. He's not putting any dye in his hair. He's more vital. His energy is better during the day. He's able to think clearer at work. He had his heavy metals tested. He dropped mercury by 18%, 10.5% in lead. Another guy, he was bald. I wish I had a photograph the top of his head. He gave a testimonial on the weekend in Hobart, and people that are on here tonight will validate. His hair's grown back. He had no feeling in his feet. He came to me for that. He was falling over on the tennis court. What he didn't mention on the weekend was he also had a blackened toe, and he'd gone to a specialist about that. They wanted to amputate it. We got some redox serum. We applied it to his toe. I checked him daily, and it was started to pink up. We also applied the gel from his entire legs, and we know that brings 49% more blood volume to the area. So the more blood volume, he actually had numbness in his feet. I think I said that. That numbness disappeared. The blackened toe returned to pink. The surgeon couldn't believe it. And you know, blood sugar levels normalised. One guy, 26.8, dropped to 8.5, and I could babble on.
Yeah, okay.
Fantastic. So, David, did you have any questions about ageing past that with women's health, like your mum, for instance?
Yeah, certainly. When people are taking the molecules, they certainly go so much better. And sometimes it takes a little bit to get people to do it. I think the key point in Janice with all this is that when we're using this, we don't need to use other things. Like even with things like lubricants, you're actually putting something in your body that heals in the process too. And I certainly know there's a whole heap of stories around that space where people have actually, things have improved. And you were talking about moisture content and that sort of thing, Jan, in the cell.
So we're assuming that the redox molecules are helping with those areas as well.
Mm.
Well, we've seen, you know, in our presentations that it increases 11% more moisture. Well, there's no moisturiser in this, so my belief is that the redox molecules help the uptake of the fluid on the outside of the cell to bring that onto the inside of the cell and plump these sultanas and raisins up to grapes so that they can perform better. With regards to lubricants, David, you know, if people do their research and look at lubricants, the petrochemicals in lubricants are creating, or are they not, creating rogue cells in those areas. I wouldn't be using lubricants in a month of Sundays. And I know that on the outside of the gel it says for external use, but I have known individuals to use it internally, and they've found that it's been extremely beneficial, and the guys particularly like it in that area. So, you know, I can see its application of uses for improving cellular function. If I can throw, we probably need some questions, but I did have one client that came to me, and she was very dry in a particular area of her body, and she applied the redox gel to her abdomen area and her reproductive areas, and then she complained to me that she'd gone incredibly wet, you know, like that she actually had to use liners in her knickers because it was embarrassingly wet. And I said, look, just keep using it, probably back off a little bit. And within 2 months, she's now, she actually feels like she's normal again, like she's got normal fluids there. And she's absolutely wrapped. So, and she wasn't using it internally.
Right. Now that's fantastic to know. Now, what we should do is open this up just quickly for questions before we finish off. Has anybody got any questions? If you have, just unmute yourselves and please feel free to ask any questions.
No.
I have a question.
Yes.
Has there been any negative side effects known? Has there been any people reporting any negative side effects?
Well, what would you term a negative?
I don't know, like, yeah, just out of interest. I mean, has there been studies done, like scientific studies on the product?
Well, Dr. Rob Ward, in his book, this one here, Healthy Cells, Healthy Life, he refers to on page 16 how it alters genetic expression, and what it does. If we look at the DNA inside the cell, and not a lot of people think about the RNA that's sitting on the DNA. And the RNA is like the photocopier, and it keeps photocopying. And if you're photocopying the same copy, you're going to get a lot of distortion. what the redox molecules do, they start to get the body back into a state of homeostasis. And with regards to a negative result, some people may think that when their cells start to clean themselves out, they may reflect that that's a negative, when in actual fact, it's a positive, and it's a matter of everybody's body is different, and you may need to back off a little bit with the redox and allow your body to catch up. There is no known toxic side effects. The only thing that I would suggest with anyone on any sort of hormonal medication, what this will do, because it brings your body back into a state of balance, I would be looking at researching the known side effects of any medication and making sure you're well adverse with that, so that if something goes on in your body, it may just be from the medication that you're on, and it may be that all of a sudden you're taking too much for your body. So go back to your doctor and say, look, I think I'm starting to improve. How can I wean off my medication? That would be the only thing that I would say that may be deemed a negative. I hope that's been helpful.
Yeah, thank you. And just another question. So how long has the products been around? Like how long have,
I think we're up to about a decade now. Oh, how long has redox molecules been around? Since evolvement.
No, but the ASEA product, how long has that been around?
The ASEA product, I should know this, it's about 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, about 10 years.
Yeah. And amazing results, Rebecca. And Dr. Rob Ward, again, he points out in his book there's research that proves that redox molecules are assisting the body to get back into state of balance by improving that gene expression.
Where do you get that book from?
The person that introduced you to this.
That's me. So I can get you one, Rebecca.
Thank you.
I'll bring you a copy.
Thank you.
Break in here and say also, if you have a little look in the chat box, if you don't know where the chat box is, there's a little chat in the bottom line underneath all of everybody's photographs. And if you have a look over at the chat box, you'll see that there's been quite a bit of information set up as well, and you can read that and go and check some of those things out too. Also, somebody else has just indicated as well that postmenopausal urinary incontinence can also be helped with redox as well, which is a really phenomenal thing for women, because it doesn't seem to affect men like that. Hi.
Hi. My question to Janice is, she mentioned earlier about one chap who was 57, I think, and his hair had gone from white, like mine, to strawberry, and she mentioned someone else who was bald. Now, I've been on the redox molecules for 2 days, including just rubbing a little bit on my head. I've no sign of anything. I'm just asking a little bit more information on the chap that was bald and how much hair he now has, how old he was. I'm 68. I've been pretty bald for more than a decade, probably 2 or 3 nearly, white for about 4 decades. What's your recommendation on what I do? I am a pensioner, so money is limited till we get a whole heap of people to join up, of course. A little bit more on those 2 chaps, if you would, please, and what your recommendation is for me. I'll give you a good look. There's not much there.
The guy that gave his testimonial on the weekend, he was 60, and he had less hair than you on the centre of his head, and he was putting the redox gel on the top of his head, and that was over a 3-month period. And he came in one day, and I could feel the hair on his head, and he wanted to shave it off, but I said, you can't shave it off for the testimonial. And it was about that long on the top of his head for the testimonial, and Justin's on the call. There's a few other people that are on the call. They'll validate that they actually saw that. So look, I'd be rubbing it not 3 times a day, twice a day on the top of your head, remembering that it brings 49% more blood volume to the area. So if you're getting blood volume to the top of your head, you're getting nutrients to the hair follicles, and they'll start to do what the body knows how to do. And in some people, their hair colour changes back. So I'm not predicting that you're going to go blackhead, but, you might get that salt pepper effect. But look, it's about protection of the head. So if you get some more hair on the top of your head and you don't have to wear hats out in the sun, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marietta's just put, the hair was really soft. She felt it. Everyone that was there on the weekend, they actually had a feel. And so, you're going to have more women touching the top of the hair, but that can only be a good thing.
Well,
I'll have to beat them.
now, we've had it a bit over time now. I hope nobody minds. I also wanted to say that, when you're in sensitive genital areas too, redox can really help any scar tissue. So that sort of thing as well. I'm just reading some of the things that are said to me privately because very helpful for anybody who's had injuries in that area as well. Very helpful too. Personally, I've had a couple of cesareans and a lot of surgery there, and it's made a huge difference for me. Everything's a lot more supple again. So that really makes a difference in your life, when those things are working better again. Post-labour, it's the same effect. Remember, we're getting a lot more elasticity back. So it's really important. Let's see what else we've got. Now, we've got no more questions now, have we? I think it's 9:15, so we probably should let Jan go. She's been very obliging. Nope, you're just a sec, you're muted. If you can unmute yourself.
Can I make a silly comment?
Yeah.
Can they make the Redox 28 by the bucket?
We've always asked that ourselves.
Because the tubes are so small and, you're scared to use too much because otherwise you're going to run out.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared about how much you use. Especially as you get older, you will need more. You renew 28, renew cells in 28 days in younger people, but in our age group, we actually need we often need more. So please don't stop using it. I've got a significant story about my mother, and she came back from death's door, and a lot of you have read that story. And then she felt so vital and so well, she stopped using it. So please, whoever put you onto the product, just find the money. Stop buying Tats Lotto tickets and just invest in Redox. It's just brilliant. And look, you will find that the more you use. I'm finding that I'm eating less. I'm not needing as much food because I'm actually the nutrients that I'm getting, my redox molecules are actually getting that fuel and being able to use it more efficiently. And so I've got more energy. At the age of 62, I'm running around like I'll say a 40-year-old, but at times I feel like a 20-year-old. I just don't feel like I'm 62. So just don't stop using it.
Now, just one more thing, Jan. I've just got one here from Carolyn saying, thanks, Janice. Any suggestions for a 39-year-old perimenopausal woman and also another person with high potassium?
Oh.
And Justin's actually answered the potassium. High potassium suggests an imbalance in the intracellular and extracellular fluid.
Exactly. So an imbalance in the salts in the cells.
Thanks there, Janice. The kidneys are showing up fine.
Excellent. The perimenopausal at 39, look, I'd be looking at your stress levels. I'd be looking at joining a mindfulness arena. I'd be looking at gentle walking, at breathing a lot more deeper. I'd be looking at putting the redox gel on the reproductive area, also the back of the neck, so that you're getting it up into your brain stem. And you know, there's a hormonal dysfunction happening, I'd say, in the brain there. And again, you know, coming back to this book, you know, he looks at genetics expression getting back into a state of balance. There's not one single cell in your body that's going to exist in 12 months' time. So do this for a minimum of 12 months. And I'd say in 12 months' time, your 39-year-old perimenopausal may or may not turn around. But look, I'd put a very high bet that there will be a shift of some sort. But so don't give up. You know, talk to the person who introduced you to it, and if they can't give you an answer, I'm happy for you to privately message me or look at Justin and Nicole. You know, they're great experts. Yeah.
Thanks, Janice. Now, I'm just wondering whether it's because she decided not to have a family.
Sorry?
I'm just wondering whether it's actually tied up psychologically because she's decided not to have a family.
Okay, I think we probably need to close the call now, and perhaps, Carolyn, you could have a conversation offline with Janice.
On Facebook even.
We're getting a little bit into it.
Yeah.
So I think we've had a phenomenal chat, and obviously we've just touched the surface on a very big topic. So
thank you.
Janice, I'd really love to say thank you so much. You've just been wonderful tonight. You've given us a lot of information and some great stories too that gives us all hope. I want to thank everybody for coming on. We really appreciate your time tonight. I'm sorry we've gone a little bit over, but it's such an interesting topic for everybody as well. Please get back to the person who invited you to watch this presentation, and they can help you further. ASEA products are not intended to diagnose, treat or cure any condition. They empower cellular communication and cellular function. I'd like to tell you what's on next week as well. Next week we've got Liz Chinseat will be hosting the Redox talk with Miriam Smout about beating the antibiotic resistant superbug. So that's one not to be missed as well. Once again, Jan, thank you so much. We've really appreciated it.
I forgot to tell you the 90-year-old story, and she had rogue cells in her nose, and it was diagnosed as deep cells. She put the gel and the serum on. The surgeon couldn't believe. He was amazed that it had gone from deep to a surface. She's still using the serum and the gel, and she's probably our oldest associate. So for the older generation, just keep using it. Don't stop. And over and out.
Okay, thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thanks. That was fantastic, and thanks everyone for coming on.
Thank you, Janice.
You're welcome.
Do it again.
And David.
Well done, Janice. Thank you,
Thanks all.